Let us look at one more example. We'll call this component traffic light component. Let's examine its UI. There is a circle at the top, and below that there are three buttons with the labels red, yellow, and green. When the component loads, we want this circle to be filled with a red color. And also if we click on this button, this circle should turn red. If we click on this button with the label yellow, this circle should turn yellow. And if we click on this button with the label green, the circle should turn green. So let us implement this traffic light component. Let's add a new file called trafficlight.js. It's going to be a function component. So let's write function traffic light, and it has to return some JSX. So let's write our return statement. Just like the previous two examples, we'll use this three-step strategy to write the state related code for this component. And like we have seen, the first step is, while writing JSX for the UI, identify things that need to change. So let's do that. Let's write some JSX first, and then we'll identify things that need to change. I'll add div as the root component this time. At the top we have a circle. So let's write JSX for that first. And let us implement our circle as a div. We'll have to add some CSS styling to make the div look like a circle. So let's add some CSS. So I'm going to write style equals, and it needs to be a JSX expression that needs to be evaluated. And within that we have to specify an object. So let's add a second pair of curly braces, and let's close the div first. When the component loads, we want the circle to be in red color. So let's specify background color to be red. To make this div a circle, let's specify height, width, and border radius. So I'm going to specify height as 30 px. Let's make width also 30 px, and also border radius also as 30 px. Let's add a margin of 10 px, and let's make display inline block. This should give us a circle, and below the circle we have three buttons with the labels red, yellow, and green. So let's add that. So let's add a break tag, and let's write a button with the label red. Let's add some space after the button. Let's duplicate these lines, and let's change red to yellow and this text to green. So now we have three buttons as well. Let's export this component and check if we implemented the UI correctly. So I'm going to write export default traffic light, and let's go to app.js, and let me comment out the code from the previous example, which is this line over here and this import statement over here. And let's add our traffic light component over here. And now I have added the traffic light component over here. VS Code has automatically added the import statement for traffic light. So let's go and check the output now. And as you can see, we have implemented the UI just like it was given in the wireframe. Now let us add code to get these buttons to work. The circle is getting its color from this CSS property over here, and this is the value that needs to change. So let's make that a variable. I'm going to call that variable color, and color is going to be a state variable. Notice that I haven't added curly braces around color like this. We should not add curly braces around color because we already have curly braces over here and here. These outer curly braces, they indicate that we are specifying something that needs to be evaluated. So within this object over here, we can use variables like color. So let's create a state variable for color using useState. So I'm going to write const color, set color equals useState, and I'm going to pass red as the initial value. To use useState, we have to import it. So let's write import useState from React. So now we have created our state variable. Now we have to write code to modify that state variable within the event handlers of those buttons. So let's do that. For the red button, let's specify on click equals handle red, and for the yellow button, let's write on click equals handle yellow, and similarly for the green button, let's write on click equals handle green. So let's write code for these event handlers now: handle red, handle yellow, and handle green. So let's write const handle red equals, let's make it an arrow function. When the user clicks on this red button over here, we want the background color to change to red. So we should modify the state variable's value to red. And to modify the state variable's value, we have to use the function setColor over here that useState gives us. So let's use set color over here. So let's write set color and let's pass red as the value. Similarly, let's write code for handle yellow. Handle yellow equals, let's make it an arrow function, and let's use set color here also to modify the value of the state variable to yellow. So let's write set color and let's pass yellow as the argument. And similarly, let's write code for handle green. Green equals, that will also be an arrow function, and let's call set color and pass green as the argument. So these three lines of code will modify the value of the state variable color, and so the background color CSS property will change from red to yellow to green depending on which button is clicked. So let's check the output now. Before clicking on the buttons, let us open the developer tools. Let us select components, which is the React developer tools. So I'm clicking on components, and let us select our traffic light component on the left, and we can see that there is one state hook and the current value is red, which is what we are seeing here. Now let us click on the yellow button, and you can see that this value has changed to yellow, and that has been reflected over here. Now let us click on the green button, and you can see that this value has changed to green now, and that has been reflected over here. So we have finished implementing the traffic light component. You can see that as we click on the buttons, the color changes from red to yellow to green. And that is because in our button event handlers, we were modifying the value of the state variable to red, yellow, or green depending on the button that was clicked. As we have been discussing these examples, I have also been discussing about debugging. So let me discuss quickly about React strict mode also. To discuss React's strict mode, let us go to the source code of this component. So let's click here. I'm going to click here, and within the source code of this component, we have discussed previously that we can place breakpoints by clicking on the left of the line numbers over here. So let us place a breakpoint on this return statement over here. This is the return statement that returns the JSX for this function component. So when we click on one of these buttons, we expect that this code will run once and the control will stop at this breakpoint once. So let's see what happens. So I'm going to click on this red button over here, and when I do that, as expected, the control stopped at this breakpoint. I'm going to click on this play button to resume execution. Please observe what happens next. So I am clicking now, and we are seeing that this code has run again and it has stopped at this breakpoint again. So let us click on the play button once again and see what happens. And when I do that, it again stops at this breakpoint. So this is the third time that it has stopped. And let's click on the play button once again, and now you can see that the execution completed and the color changed to red. Now why is this code getting executed multiple times? Because that sounds inefficient and in fact incorrect. And the reason why the code is getting executed multiple times is because we are using React's strict mode. If we go to index.js, we can see that our app component is wrapped by React.strict mode. Let us quickly discuss what is strict mode. Let's go to the docs at reactjs.org, and in the strict mode section, the docs say that strict mode activates additional checks and warnings, and also that it does not render any visible UI. And the docs also say that strict mode checks are run in development mode only. So the key thing to understand is that strict mode gives us additional checks and warnings in development mode. But to help us with additional checks and warnings, strict mode intentionally double invokes the following functions. And one of the functions that it invokes is the function component bodies, and also functions passed to useState. So to help us with additional checks and warnings, strict mode does double invoking of some functions. And that is the reason why this breakpoint over here was getting hit multiple times. Let us comment out strict mode and check what happens. So I'm commenting out strict mode now. And now let us see if the breakpoint gets hit only once. Let us go to the web page. Let's reload the page once. And I'm going to click on the yellow button now. As expected, the execution stopped at the breakpoint. Let's click on the play button to resume execution. And as you can see, the execution now completed after being stopped at the breakpoint only once. And that is because we have commented out strict mode over here. The docs at reactjs.org strongly recommend us to use strict mode. So let us uncomment the code so that we have strict mode back again. In practice, this really does not turn out to be an issue because we typically put our breakpoints in event handlers. So let's go to our trafficlight.js file and let us place our function body within curly braces so that this line of code goes to a different line. Let us do the same for handle yellow and handle green also. So now all three event handlers have their function body within curly braces. So let's go to the web page and reload the page, and let us place a breakpoint at line number 14. Please note that we are back to using React strict mode. So let's see if the breakpoint is hit multiple times. So I'm going to click on the green button over here and it has stopped for the first time at line number 14. I'm going to click on the play button to resume execution, and as you can see, the execution completed. In practice, when we use breakpoints, we actually place them within our event handlers code and not within our return statement, which returns JSX. So even though we use React strict mode, our debugging with breakpoints usually does not get affected that much. But if you do see your breakpoints getting hit multiple times, then the reason could very well be because of React strict mode. And that concludes our discussion for our third example.